常处于零态高级修炼 always remain in the zero state, advanced cultivation. Jiefeng. Today, after reading Feelings of the Middle Way by Qingkuan Celestial, I experienced a sudden clarity, as if a new window had opened within my heart, offering a view of the boundless universe. Feelings of the Middle Way further expands upon Laozi's principle of effortless action that accomplishes everything, and Buddha's thought on formlessness. Laozi's effortless action, Buddha's formlessness, and Qingkuan Yuanchu's Middle Way all point to the zero state. What is the zero state? It is a state of emptiness, spirit, and grace. All useful things exist in this zero state. For instance, all kinds of scales used to measure weight are set to zero, and gauges measuring voltage or current are at zero. Only when these instruments are at zero can they accurately measure the true essence of what they gauge. If not set to zero, say set at 80 or some other value, then the readings they show cannot reflect the true nature of what is measured. Only when a scale is at zero, in a state of effortless action and formlessness, can it accomplish everything, reveal the true nature, and accurately weigh any object placed upon it. As Qingkuan Celestial has said, Buddha nature is tasteless, the greatest creator is soundless. Lack of perception is the greatest perception. The feeling of the middle way is to be without feeling. To lack perception is to experience all perception. Effortless action that accomplishes everything. All sages and saints make distinctions through the principle of effortless action, and lack of perception enables one to experience all perception. All of these bring Laozi, Buddha, and Qingkuan Yuanchu onto the same plane of wisdom. A building, only when it exists in the zero state, can provide a space of true value to people. A computer, only when it is in the zero state, can function effectively for people. An ox, only when it is in the zero state, can serve farmers. A Buddha, only in the zero state, can embody the true Buddha nature and guide others across the river of life. Only when a person is in the zero state can they truly understand the Great Way, achieve enlightenment, and attain the qualities of a celestial being or Buddha. A drinking cup, only when in the zero state, truly functions as a drinking cup. If filled with something else, it ceases to fulfill its purpose. Idling vehicles and machinery are also in a kind of zero state. The earth, existing in the zero state, nurtures all forms of plant life. The state of energy differentials is likewise a form of zero state, ready to unleash immense power in an instant. People often say, "My mind feels completely empty like a blank slate," which is also a form of zero state, a highly positive state. As the wind passes through sparse bamboo, the bamboo retains no sound. As geese fly over a cold pond, the pond leaves no reflection. This reflects the zero state of the bamboo and the pond. Keeping oneself in a zero state is a form of advanced cultivation. The highest level of swordsmanship is the absence of a sword. The ultimate mental practice is to be without a mind. The most profound Buddha Dharma is to be without Buddha. And the greatest self is the absence of self. Striving to reach the zero state is moving toward Buddha, toward celestial beings, toward the Tathagata. To cling to any specific matter, thing, theory, religion, political party, nation, family, or person is to deviate from the Tao, to distance oneself from the zero state. The zero state is not emptiness but, as Qingkuan Celestial says, the root of life. The zero state holds the mysteries of heaven and earth, immense power, endless transformations, and countless phenomena. The zero state is an attribute of the Tao. It is the state of the greatest creator. The zero state is nothing, yet it contains everything. To reside in the zero state is to reach the state of unity between heaven and humanity, to dwell in the eternity of life. The most exquisite experience in life is the awareness felt when consciousness resides in the zero state, for it is then that one can perceive everything. From the zero state, viewing humanity's many values and morals reveals them to be mistaken. From the zero state, seeing humanity's suffering shows it all to be man-made, a result of straying from the zero state. The zero state is also the gateway to all wonders. Mysterious, graceful, resplendent, and magnificent. Everything arises from it. I hope you will frequently keep yourself in the zero state. 高级修炼，把自己表达清楚. Advanced cultivation, expressing yourself clearly. Jiefeng. I once asked the greatest creator, why do so many people struggle to realize their desires? The greatest creator replied, because they haven't expressed themselves clearly. After returning from the non-material world, I continued to observe people's situations and found that the greatest creator's words were indeed accurate. When we complain that our desires are unfulfilled and blame the greatest creator, we often fail to realize that we haven't expressed what we want clearly. First, we haven't made it clear where we want to go, or what we truly need. Our hearts change constantly with time and our surroundings, sometimes even shifting several times a day, making it impossible for the greatest creator to assist us. For example, I want to be rich is a desire, but it's vague and lacks specifics. What kind of wealth are you looking for? To what extent? Is it material wealth or spiritual and inner richness? What's the standard of rich for you? If these details aren't clarified, this desire to be rich is hard to fulfill. It's not due to social injustice or the greatest creator's negligence. It's simply that we haven't clearly expressed ourselves. Similarly, if someone says, "I want to go to heaven," this wish is also unclear. What kind of heaven do you envision? Is it a realm like the 1,000-year world? Or perhaps the 10,000-year world? Or something like the Celestial Islands continent? We need a clear image. Without one, it's hard for the greatest creator to help us. Or take, "I want joy and freedom." This is also a vague concept without real content. What kind of joy and freedom do we want? How can we achieve it? Is it eating a cookie? Putting on a new outfit? Finding a like-minded friend? Building a villa abroad? Visiting a certain friend? Empty desires without substance are difficult to achieve. If we simply say, "I want to build a comfortable house," without a clear structural design, how can others assist us? Or if we only say, "I want a good job," without defining the nature of the work, how can the non-material universe respond? What do we really need? Coffee, tea, cola, orange juice, mineral water? If we only say, "I want a drink," it's hard to satisfy that request unless we add, "Any drink will do." Most of people's troubles and conflicts arise because we don't express ourselves clearly. Much of the friction and struggle between people also stems from this lack of clarity. Many people say and write a lot, but still fail to express themselves clearly. It's like when I ask, "Which part of Chinese culture do you specifically want to revive?" It's not enough to say, "We want to revive Chinese culture." You need to specify the content. Spiritual practitioners, too, like to follow trends, saying things like, "I want to elevate my spirituality." But this is just an empty phrase. What is spirituality? How can it be elevated? You haven't clearly expressed the content. It's like saying, "I want to grow vegetables," but without specifying what kind. If there are 1,000 beds, we can only sleep on one. We can't sleep on all 1,000 at once. If there are 100 boats, we can only take one to cross the river. We can't board all of them simultaneously. If there are hundreds of planes at the airport, we can only take one flight. Which bed will we sleep on? Which boat will we board? Which flight will we take? If we don't express ourselves clearly and simply wander back and forth, how can our desires be fulfilled? I observe some spiritual practitioners on certain websites. For a long time, they admire one boat's beauty, then another's splendor, sometimes trying out this bed, other times testing that one, squandering time yet remaining shallow. Critics who wander around pointing fingers aren't true spiritual practitioners. Only those who try to express themselves clearly are genuine practitioners. Is advanced cultivation really this simple? Just express yourself clearly? Yes, it's that simple. All you need to do is express yourself clearly. Try it. Who can express themselves clearly? When we do, our desires can be fulfilled. Expressing oneself clearly doesn't require flowery language or the pretense of profundity. It's about understanding your own heart. Below are 2 passages I wrote to mock others. Such exaggerated language is unnecessary. XX's thinking resembles a Bach melody resonating with the electrolytic essence of quantum mechanics, where the profundity of his thought lies in the Pavlovian philosophy applied to Newtonian classical mechanics. His imagination soars like photons spiraling through extragalactic light effects, gracefully resonating like the polarized angles of ant antennae spinning between elephant toes. His insights from cosmic ontology transcend ordinary perception, traversing the limitless horizon of the universe, blending the principle of form and emptiness with the exquisite coupling resonance of auditory mathematics. His greatness in smallness is captured in the perfect realization of the unity of heaven and humanity, manifesting in the atomic explosion's singular mushroom cloud within Einstein's mass-energy equation. The analytic functions of universal formulas apply to the synthesis of causality and quality-quantity transformation laws. As the grandeur of smallness surges like ocean waves freezing in the moment, an eagle spreads its wings. Infinite even numbers miraculously flutter like snowflakes in a serene microcosm, merging the essence of beauty into the logical reasoning of Marx's materialist dialectic, embodying the philosophy of a superhuman in the mundane life's chaotic butterfly effect, compressing and expanding the essence of space through topological transformations within primal dynamic balance, spiraling symbolically from ancient Mayan culture into the magical splendor of the future. It folds the marvelous transformations of reality into the profound rules of mind projection, surpassing all skills, transmitting the philosophical insights of past and present across the structure of the cosmos. Phenomena are the spatiotemporal reflection of essence, the actual manifestation of emptiness, a projection of self-nature in the material world. Through introspective observation and awareness, the world of phenomena reveals itself fully. The essence of phenomena is emptiness, utterly devoid of substance, reflecting the nature of phenomena. With no duality in mind, no two intentions in body, the mind is the spiritual source of self-nature, the origin of thought. The brain, a vessel of chemical reactions between inner and outer worlds, reveals the conscience of self-nature through the mind, disclosing the world of self-nature upon introspection. By creating our reality from cosmic essence, the reality we experience is a conscious reflection of our subconscious within emptiness. When meditation and introspection harmonize perfectly, reality emerges. The maximization of self lies in egolessness. The optimal path to refining the self is through the projection of awareness. The material world reflects egolessness, a phenomenon shaped by the desires of self-nature within the essence of emptiness. Only by grasping the essential properties of emptiness can we elevate the beauty of the mind to the highest realm of material reflection. Form mirrors the soul of emptiness. Emptiness is the natural essence of form. The method of ultimate awareness lies in transforming form into emptiness, understanding form through introspection atop the peak of the soul. The essence of love is the holistic projection of sexuality, aligned with the natural law of the Tao. The universe's essence is an unrestricted expansion of love within nature's bounds. When a tiger devours a fawn, it reflects self-nature's ultimate conquest within the realm of love. Beauty's principle lies in the absoluteness of love, with absolute beauty embedded within the unconscious awareness of relative beauty. Relative beauty is love concealed within the deep structure of appearance. When the mind's supreme beauty ascends into the boundless compassion of cosmic unity, beauty radiates an irresistible allure. The extraordinary lies within the awareness of the ordinary. Extraordinary skills in life harmonize biological and psychological attributes in a logical, natural competition. As chemical properties of life evolve with physical qualities, the extraordinary potential within the ordinary erupts. These passages are intentionally exaggerated and empty. Articles that appear flowery and profound like these, in fact, fail to express anything clearly. Although we can learn from others' wisdom and experiences, there's no need to waste time and energy on writing that doesn't express itself clearly. The more we read and study such writings, the more confused our thinking will become, and the deeper we'll sink into the illusion of word games. 高级修炼，创造天仙结构，吸收特殊能量。Advanced Cultivation, creating the super-celestial structure to absorb special energy. Jiefeng. February 16, 2008. Let's start by examining and reflecting on some interesting phenomena. When you feed fish to a sheep, it won't eat it, but a cat will. Why does a sheep refuse fish while a cat enjoys it? The answer lies in the different life structures of the sheep and the cat. Metal doesn't insulate while asbestos does. Rubber doesn't conduct electricity, but tree bark does. Spherical objects can roll while cubes cannot. Liquid gasoline burns but water doesn't. These differences all stem from varying structures. Some flowers emit fragrance while others do not. Some plants bear fruit while others cannot. Women can give birth, men cannot. A temple bell can produce a deep, resonant sound, but no amount of striking will make a cooking pot produce the same tone. Instruments like the flute, eru, and violin produce music with distinct tones, pitches, and sounds, all because of differences in structure. Conclusion: the differences among all things lie in their structures. A queen bee lives for 4 to 5 years, while a worker bee lives only about 2 months. Monkeys live around 20 years, humans about 60, and supercelestial beings live 1,000, 30,000, or even billions of years. Lifespans differ because life structures differ. Conclusion: to achieve longevity, to live long, or even attain immortality, one must focus on the structure of life. What kind of life structure leads to longevity? What life structure should we pursue? In thermodynamics, there is a term called entropy. The higher the entropy, the closer a system is to a state of death. An isolated, closed system will ultimately reach maximum entropy, leading to a state of equilibrium or death. To prolong life, one must prevent life's entropy from increasing. The most effective way to do this is to avoid an isolated, closed life structure and instead adopt a dissipative structure. Flowing water does not rot, and a constantly used door hinge does not rust. The more open a structure is, the longer it lasts. A house with closed doors and windows will decay and collapse more quickly. A business that doesn't foster talent exchange and information flow cannot last long. A country that isolates itself will soon stagnate and fall behind. Likewise, a person who doesn't engage in regular learning and reflection will experience a rigid and stagnant mind, gradually moving toward a state of death. The reason for these examples is simple. When isolation occurs, entropy builds up until external energy can no longer enter, leading to suffocation. Why do lovers often lose their passion once they settle into marriage? Because their emotional structure becomes isolated and closed, their emotional entropy gradually reaches saturation, reducing passion and eventually leading to a dead state. Within a single individual, it is generally impossible to feel the freshness of first love twice. To continually feel that thrill, one's emotional structure must remain open. A pond as clear as a mirror reflects the sky's light and the cloud's shadows. How can it stay so pure? Only because fresh water keeps flowing in. Just like this, only by letting living water continuously enter can we maintain vitality and clarity. Where there is vitality, there is no approach toward death. How do we achieve the life structure of a supercelestial being? In fact, the Life-Genuine values provide guidance for continuously creating a supercelestial being's life structure. I am constantly breaking down old mindsets and bringing in living water. First, I encourage everyone to think differently, because unconventional thinking breaks the isolation and rigidity in consciousness that have formed over time. This way, we can experience the constant wonder of beyond the hills and rivers. A new village emerges. Then I work to free everyone from the restrictive structures of family, political parties, religion, and nationality, expanding the mind to embrace the boundless expanse of time and space. I introduce the vision of the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, and the Celestial Islands continent to shift everyone's perception of life. When our consciousness has fully absorbed the essence of supercelestial beings, we will naturally adopt the supercelestial being structure. Once we embody this structure, we will undoubtedly exist in the supercelestial being's environment. I've explained this principle in The Key to Heaven, Mysteries of Life. Having the supercelestial being structure alone is empty if we do not also take in the corresponding energy. Just as an architect cannot realize a vision of a building without the right materials, a construction plan, and labor, a supercelestial being structure without the right energy is no more than a dream. So, we must consider the issue of energy intake. The first requirement is structure. The type of structure determines the type of energy it can absorb. With the structure of a supercelestial being, we can absorb the energy suited for that structure. Different life structures absorb different life energies. The example of the sheep and cat with fish at the beginning illustrates this. A quarry only holds stones, a gold mine only gold, a flour mill only wheat, corn, and beans, a clothing factory only fabric. Each structure absorbs the specific energy it needs. Herbivores don't eat meat, and carnivores don't eat plants. Milk and water mix, but oil and water remain separate. We can see in plants and flowers that they absorb only the specific wavelengths of light they need, while filtering out what they don't. Thus, with a supercelestial being structure, we will naturally absorb the energy required by this structure. But how can we do this? For Qigong and yoga practitioners, whether sitting, standing, or moving, a specific posture is essential. Buddhist practitioners require particular body, speech, mind, and form postures. Posture represents structure. For example, the effect of a single leg cross or double leg cross position differs. Similarly, hand positions, whether palms up or down, have different effects. Feng Shui practitioners pay great attention to the terrain, structure, and orientation of buildings, and devices like televisions, cell phones, and radios must have antennas, all illustrating the importance of structure and energy absorption. A pyramid structure, for instance, can absorb special cosmic energy. Staying inside a pyramid, rather than in a flat-roofed building, may provide a greater sense of vitality. Leek plants grown without sunlight turn pale. Sweet oranges turn bitter in northern climates. Beautiful mountains produce great talent, while barren mountains produce unruly people. These are all results of structure at work. To absorb the right energy, we must first understand what energy is. The factors that bring vitality and joy to life are life energy. Advancde strives to create a peaceful and joyful environment, providing a vision of heaven to inspire everyone. This in itself is a source of energy. By absorbing this energy, we gain a different outlook, and our views on the universe, life, and the future of life change, filling us with vitality. Recently, we celebrated the Spring Festival together. Compare this to celebrating in the secular world. Where do you feel more fulfilled? Where you feel best is where the energy is most abundant. The community here mainly offers the energy suited to super-celestial beings. If our life structure doesn't match, we may not even sense this energy or may feel uncomfortable, as only bees gather nectar. So, how can we absorb the energy needed for a super-celestial being? First, enter the non-material world. Then, in consciousness, place yourself in the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, or on your own island within the Elysium Celestial Islands continent. In this state, you will automatically absorb the energy you need. In your mind, you can create a pyramid, like the one made of countless stars seen at Tongtian Peak Skycliff. Alternatively, create a pyramid of multicolored flowers around yourself. Then imagine sitting within the pyramid, cross-legged and forming a mudra, as described in A Glimpse of the 10,000-Year World, or standing with your hands spread upward, palms open. This will enable you to absorb the special energy. Secondly, visit the Advancde community frequently. As I've said before, the process of building this community is a process of practice and cultivation, because this place provides energy rather than taking it. Keep in mind that conflict, arguments, anger, and jealousy drain energy. But in this community, these factors are minimized, making it an ideal place to absorb energy. Conclusion: replace traditional structures with dissipative structures. Avoid imposing rigid frameworks that limit the freedom of consciousness, to prevent isolation and closure in thought. By doing so, the entropy in our structure will not increase, we will not approach a state of death. And we can then envision ourselves as super-celestial beings, thus absorbing the special energy needed for the super-celestial life structure. 高级修炼，练习与上帝对话交流. Advanced cultivation, practicing dialogue with the greatest creator. Jiefeng. All things, events, and traces are expressions of the greatest creator. All phenomena, movements, and transformations are the greatest creator speaking. The words of the greatest creator are recorded in books without words. Only by reading these wordless books can one come to know, understand, and comprehend the greatest creator. The sun, moon, stars, rivers, lakes, seas, mountains, valleys, birds, beasts, flowers, grasses, trees, people, and society. All of these form the wordless book. The transformations of oceans and fields, the roar of lions, the chirping of birds, winds, clouds, rain, snow, streams, the natural sounds of the earth, oxen plowing, horses galloping, fragrant blooms. All of these are chapters of the wordless book. The alternation of day and night, the shifting of seasons, changing weather, growth and decay, lightning and thunder, and the migration of birds, all are expressions of the greatest creator speaking. Back pain, eye twitches, ear ringing, sorrow, longing, healing of wounds, dreams, eating, drinking, and bodily functions. All are ways the greatest creator communicates. The greatest creator never uses language to converse with humans, never uses writing to record his will, never enters the human brain to give special teachings, never tests or examines people, never fears losing his throne to gods or demons, and never judges people. The greatest creator treats all life, especially humans, with fairness and justice. Anyone willing can communicate with the greatest creator. There is only one way to communicate with the greatest creator: through soul interaction. To engage in dialogue with the greatest creator, one must first awaken their spiritual senses. Relying solely on sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch is insufficient. Let me share an example as inspiration for practicing dialogue with the greatest creator. While clearing the branches of a fallen tree tangled with vines, I observed a phenomenon. Dead branches were difficult to cut or saw, even with tools. Near-dead branches could be cut but were very tough, and branches that were alive were easy to cut. All phenomena are the greatest creator's words. So, what is this phenomenon saying? In other words, what is the greatest creator telling us? The greatest creator is saying, dead life is rigid, near-dead life is tough, life filled with vitality is tender. Realizing this message conveyed by the greatest creator through the phenomenon, I started trying to communicate with the greatest creator. I asked, Almighty greatest creator, do all life forms exhibit similar traits as these plants? The greatest creator replied, yes, with few exceptions. Honorable greatest creator, apples are firm and sour when they're full of life, softer when ripe and softest when they decay. This phenomenon seems inconsistent with your conclusion, I said in confusion. The greatest creator responded, apples are fruits of life, seeds of life. They are not life itself. Fruits are not considered life until they start growing into form. Therefore, my conclusions about life do not apply to non-living things. Filled with gratitude, I continued, thank you, greatest creator, for teaching me such a profound truth. I would like to know what characteristics a person exhibits when they are dead, near death, or full of vitality. A dead life is rigid. Dead people are unresponsive to changes around them. Their minds, thoughts, awareness, and spirits are rigid. They remain unmoved by lightning and thunder, tsunamis and earthquakes, warning calls, or the nourishment of love. A life near death is tough. People nearing death are stubborn, inflexible, clinging to old beliefs, resistant to change, and unwilling to learn or think independently. They do not easily accept new ideas, perspectives, or things, often thinking themselves right, attached to tradition and routine, and are prone to resistance or indifference. Vital life is tender. Observe how delicate children are. They are the truly vibrant ones. Those who are curious and hopeful about the future, eager to learn and accept new ideas, who are teachable, lively, happy, and feel blessed without idols or rigid authority in their hearts, and who are easily taught, guided, or even misled, these are the truly vital beings, the greatest creator answered patiently and kindly. I was moved. Communicating directly with the greatest creator is so simple, so pleasant, so clear, so enlightening. The greatest creator is like a kind grandfather. I could feel this grandfather, the greatest creator, patting my head, ready to give me delightful things to enjoy. I then asked the greatest creator, dear greatest creator, which kind of life do you prefer? The greatest creator replied with a smile, of course, a life brimming with vitality, like that of a child. Curiously, I asked, beloved greatest creator, what kind of life is needed in heaven? What kind of person can enter heaven? The greatest creator laughed heartily but replied seriously, in heaven, there is absolutely no place for rigid or tough lives. Heaven requires vibrant lives. Those who are like children can enter heaven. Beloved greatest creator, can a person in their 60s become like a child? Can they be considered a child? The greatest creator feigned annoyance and replied, how foolish you are. Whether one is a child is not about age but about heart. This was my conversation with the greatest creator. Anyone can practice in a similar way. Every day we are surrounded by various phenomena, and the greatest creator is always ready to communicate with anyone, as long as we are willing, humble, and hold the greatest creator in our hearts. By walking in the greatest creator's path, we can effortlessly engage in direct dialogue with the greatest creator. 为何会与自己相遇? Why does one encounter oneself? 解放. Qinshin Celestial. Recently, during my dream practice, I encountered a strange phenomenon. I met myself while fully conscious. I stood there, looking at a clear image of my own face, feeling an indescribable mix of emotions, a flood of feelings. Perhaps I'm just a projection of myself. Has anyone else ever experienced this? Dayform Celestial. We have countless manifestations. Every day we first encounter ourselves. If we look closely, we will see many different versions of ourselves. Extending this concept, we can find ourselves in heaven, and we can also find ourselves in hell. The question is, how do we ensure that we truly experience heavenly life? Chinchin Celestial. This time I am completely in sync with Dayform Celestial. Let's consider a simple question. If someday you reach enlightenment and transcend time's limitations, wouldn't that version of you, in a sense, always existed? In other words, your future enlightened self already exists before you attain it. Then why do we still need to cultivate ourselves? Would that future Buddha cease to exist if I didn't cultivate myself? Without transcending time and space, this perplexing question is difficult to understand. All versions of yourself already exist. You can't change them, but you can choose which scene to play. As Dayform Celestial said, there's a version of you in heaven, one in hell, and countless others in the human world. So who are you really and where are you? Life isn't really a countable noun. What we think of as countable only applies within specific conditions of time and space. In modern Western theories, the most fundamental form of being is often called existence. Without existence, we would not appear. Without us, existence would lack a means of expression. We are merely one potential projection of our own existence, one mode of expression. Some theories even suggest that existence replicates the greatest creator's original form. Awakening to one's nature is simply discovering this true nature within one's existence. For many, dialogues with the greatest creator are, in some sense, dialogues with their own existence. If one lacks clarity or has limited understanding, they may think they are directly communicating with the greatest creator. This is how various religions emerge. By viewing this phenomenon scientifically and rationally, we can avoid straying or becoming extreme, enabling sustainable exploration. This is why Dayform Celestial once advised me, don't rush to finalize your spiritual conclusions. Today, a friend from Uganda shared a phrase with me which I'd like to pass on. Interpret it as you will. I would rather be a seeker than a believer. 具真精真神出大才大德. Cultivate true essence and true spirit. Great talent and virtue will manifest. Jiefeng. If a person aligns their body and soul through self-cultivation, true essence and true spirit will reside within, and great talent and virtue will manifest. Many people find it difficult to understand the Diamond Sutra. They read it repeatedly but only grasp all conditioned phenomena are like a dream, an illusion, a bubble, a shadow, without uncovering the sutra's vast and profound depths. The Diamond Sutra encompasses the infinite mysteries of the universe, which is why I call it the Himalayan mountain of wisdom. So why do so many people fail to grasp its meaning? The issue isn't one of intelligence, cultural background, or Buddhist knowledge. Rather, it's about not having the aspiration for Mahayana, the great vehicle, or the highest aspiration. The world-honored one said that he spoke for those with a Mahayana heart and the highest aspirations. Without this aspiration, we naturally won't understand it. Now let's explore how to cultivate this Mahayana and supreme aspiration. First, envision yourself as the father or mother of all people in the world. Remember, this must come from the heart, not just in words. Imagine every person on earth as your beloved child. People of all races, white, black, yellow, are your precious ones. Muslims, Christians, Buddhists, communists, and others are all your family. You wish for all your family members to live harmoniously, to be happy and joyful, to neither harm nor exploit nature, to enjoy good food, clothing, and rest, and to be filled with hope and anticipation for the future. To think this way is to have this aspiration. With this mindset, you view human society, the meaning of life, and the principles of existence, setting your own coordinates and benchmarks. You write and speak about the teachings, discuss the principles of the Tao, and act accordingly. In doing so, true essence and true spirit will gather within, and you will embody great talent and virtue. Second, place yourself in the position of the son or daughter of all the world's people. People of every nation are like parents who nourish you. They are kin with whom you are deeply connected. You should honor them, share their burdens, and not seek to take from them but instead consider how you can give back. Emulate the spirit of the cow, which consumes grass yet offers rich, sweet milk to nourish its caregivers. In doing so, true essence and true spirit will come to reside within, manifesting as great talent and virtue. Naturally, aspiring to guide all one's children and parents to the Pure Land, to enjoy endless life's pleasures and eternity, is also an expression of this aspiration. By minimizing selfish desires and maximizing your capacity to serve and contribute, you gather true essence and true spirit and cultivate great talent and virtue. In this way, you will feel refreshed and clear-headed, bright of heart and eye, achieving actionless action. The universe can fit within your chest. The earth can rest upon your palm. In this way, you will gradually understand the Diamond Sutra, comprehend the teachings of Jesus Christ, and grasp the wisdom and spirit of Laozi. In this way, you will understand why Lifechanuan promotes revering the greatest creator, revering life, revering nature, and walking the path of the greatest creator. In this way, you will understand why Lifechanuan advocates for unifying all faiths and aims to initiate the Lifechanuan era for humanity, its profound purpose and meaning. Even if the guide says nothing, you will know how to speak, act, live, and practice. Try developing a Mahayana and supreme aspiration, and you will surely gather true essence and true spirit, becoming a person of great talent and virtue. Through our transformation of consciousness, the myriad phenomena of the vast world will change. 随时随地全交代. Anywhere, anytime, fully accounted. 接缝. Anywhere, anytime, fully accounted. This profound maxim was created by Tao Yun Celestial of Lifechanuan. Life is an unpredictable journey, where any moment or place could be our final stop. Once we step outside, there's no guarantee we'll return. Our farewells to loved ones may indeed be final partings, leaving us no chance for one last word. Therefore, we must live anywhere, anytime, fully accounted, so that we leave no room for regret or remorse. A philosopher once said, "No one steps in the same river twice. Everything is in constant flux, changing from one moment to the next." Buddhism teaches that life is impermanent, small changes accumulate, and major shifts can arise in an instant, like a tsunami, like an earthquake. Last year on this day, within this gate, human faces and peach blossoms reflected in red. And this year, you're nowhere to be found, while the peach blossoms still smile in the breeze. This is why we must be anywhere, anytime, fully accounted. To live anywhere, anytime, fully accounted means sharing our deepest blessings and praise with our loved ones and those we respect and admire. When possible, perform small acts of kindness for them, live with a clear conscience, and fully enjoy each moment. Be ready to depart at any moment, as if the next instant may take us from this world to a new journey through the vast universe. Anywhere, anytime, fully accounted. Earth is not life's permanent home. We're here temporarily by fate, and ultimately we'll leave. There's no need for excessive sadness or worry. Nothing here is truly ours, except the non-material structure of our own life. Saying, "This is mine" or "that is mine" is an illusion and a source of suffering. In the end, we take nothing with us. In the end, we're left with nothing but the spirit light of our awareness. Life is but a dream. All is transient like clouds. We must fully experience life, leaving no regrets. Anywhere, anytime, we should do our best, enjoy the wonder of life, and act and speak as the moment requires. The present moment is real. Don't sacrifice today for dreams of tomorrow. Regret and remorse arise when we don't live anywhere, anytime, fully accounted. Many people realize this only in their final days, at the threshold of life and death. But by then it's too late. Don't wait until the moment of farewell to make things right. Instead, be anywhere, anytime, fully accounted. In this way, we can close our eyes in peace, free of regret, at any time and place. Imagine if Jesus suddenly appeared before us, asking us to leave this world right now. Are there things we can't let go of? Debts unpaid? If so, it means we haven't been anywhere, anytime, fully accounted. With this mindfulness, our spirit will remain at peace and our soul in joy, ready to follow Jesus to the kingdom of heaven. Anywhere, anytime, fully accounted is a sublime life state. It aligns with Tao and the wisdom of Prajna. It is the perfect realization on the Bodhi path, a teaching of Buddha, a whisper of Zen, a divine revelation, a boat to cross the river of life, a remedy for the lost, a finger pointing to the moon, an angel's call to board the ship. Anywhere, anytime, fully accounted, is when life's light shines brightly in the present moment, bringing great liberation and a grand life. From this comes fearlessness and a life without regret. Remorse will no longer haunt us. Our mind and body will resonate in pure joy, aligned with the celestial beings. Practicing anywhere, anytime, fully accounted, is an excellent path for self-improvement. Only with this mindset can our heart and soul remain peaceful. Only then can we fully enjoy life, always ready to embark on new journeys. With such inner freedom, why fear the collapse of the sky and earth or magnetic pole reversals? Why let worldly clamor or stormy winds faze us? Even blade and fire cannot harm a single hair. The gates to heaven are always open to all, not only to Christians, Buddhists, and Muslims but to anyone. They are open to the good and the bad, the white, black, and yellow. Yet, finding heaven's gate is no simple feat, and entering it is even harder. Could we truly leave the human world for heaven anytime and anywhere? Imagine an earthly paradise here on earth. Could we abandon everything and walk forward without looking back? How many unfulfilled dreams weigh on us? How many attachments linger in our hearts? How many bonds still captivate us? How many obstacles hold us back? Saying it is easy, doing it is difficult. So from now on, let us strive to be anywhere, anytime, fully accounted, leaving no regrets or remorse. Then we will be ready to set forth at any moment, embracing new life and new experiences ahead. 向内修还是向外修? Inner cultivation or outer cultivation? Jiefeng. From Buddhist philosophy to Osho and countless modern masters, a shared principle and encouragement has emerged: inner cultivation. The essence of inner cultivation is that Buddha nature is inherently complete. By turning inward, one can return to simplicity, attain enlightenment, and reach divinity. This focus on inner cultivation is valid since the ultimate goal of cultivation is to refine one's consciousness and perfect the non-material structure of life. All appearances are illusory. Only the structure of consciousness in life is real. Appearances and functions are just the external expressions of essence. But without a foundation of outer cultivation, what exactly are we cultivating inwardly? Cultivating what exactly? You might end up cultivating a mouse or a snake within yourself, turning yourself into a kind of monster. Think that sounds far-fetched? Some animals recognize the first creature they see after birth as their mother. A child raised by wolves would become a wolf child. People in isolated places often think that what they see and hear is the whole universe. Without outer cultivation, all one might cultivate is arrogance and a narrow perspective. In the Structural Characteristics of Civilized Society 6, Chinkuan Buddha states, "Who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going?" Suppose you wake up and have lost all your memories, then who are you? You recognize self, because you remember yourself, your appearance, your social connections, your past experiences that continue right up to your awakening. That is why you perceive as real. If one day you were to wake up on another planet, say in the 10,000-year world, as long as your memories remained, you'd be pleased, knowing you've come from Earth to this new world. Who am I? I am awareness, a memory structure in non-material form. Don't think your brain is everything. Your consciousness is also simultaneously recorded in the universal Alaya consciousness, shaping your past and future. As long as your consciousness exists, you exist. If memory vanished, there would be no awareness, no I. The ultimate purpose of existence in the universe is to create awareness, to enable I, thereby establishing the true logical foundation of the universe. I is awareness. Without awareness, there is no I. So where does this awareness come from? Awareness is cultivated through outer experiences. If a person is born without sight, hearing, taste, smell, or touch, who would they be? Ideally, inner cultivation should start at birth, but at birth, do you even know who you are? If you're raised by wolves, you'd be a wolf. If someone else adopts you at birth, would you recognize your biological parents? Without joining Life Changyuan, would you know you're a Changyuan celestial? Without understanding the universe, without knowing the vast world, without memories or personal experiences, could you know who you are? You'd be like a zombie or a person in a vegetative state. Thus, inner cultivation must be built on the foundation of outer cultivation. Inner cultivation is like cooking. First, you need ingredients: vegetables, flour, oil, salt, seasonings, pots, and pans. Without these, what meal could you prepare? Just thin air. Without the accumulation of knowledge from elementary, secondary, and higher education or from life and work experiences, dreaming of becoming a scholar is just fantasy. Inner cultivation is the pursuit of the well-learned. Beginners who cannot even distinguish north from south or tell wheat from weeds, yet shout inner cultivation, are cultivating illusions. I'd say they're only hardening themselves into stone. So, while we are alive, we must seize every moment for outer cultivation. We should fully experience life, explore widely, read extensively, and absorb the wisdom of others. Building on this rich foundation, we can continually reflect, verify, deepen our understanding, transform our thinking, refine our consciousness, and perfect the non-material structure of life. Inner cultivation must be grounded in outer cultivation, with both nurtured together. Otherwise, one becomes nothing more than a library exhibit or a storage bin of unused knowledge. 自我检测修行修炼的成果. Measure your levels of self-improvement and self-cultivation. 结访. All who engage in religious activities are practitioners of cultivation, as are those involved in mystical practices, those who seek the Tao, and those who work for the well-being of humanity. Anyone who contemplates the mysteries of nature and incorporates this understanding into their daily life is a practitioner of cultivation, as are those who long for paradise and diligently pursue it. The members of Life-Genuine, known as celestial beings, are also practitioners of cultivation. Cultivation is merely a process, not an end in itself. The purpose of cultivation is to achieve certain outcomes that one aspires to. So, how can one determine the results of their cultivation after a period of practice? To begin, we must clarify several points. If you tell me you've read the Bible, the Diamond Sutra, the Quran, or the Tao Te Ching and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you can recite and explain these scriptures to many, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you've practiced mystical methods for decades and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you've sought the Tao for years and participated in numerous gatherings of fellow seekers, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you have extensively studied Western New Age spiritual materials, reflected on them deeply, and followed them rigorously, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you've spent years online day and night neglecting sleep and meals, debating various topics with netizens, and have connected with many high-level spiritual friends, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say you've achieved nothing. If you say you hold great reverence for Jesus or Buddha and have unwavering faith in gods and Buddhas, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you followed several masters, listened to their teachings and guidance, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you've taken a Grandmaster celestial being, a returned Jesus, or a reincarnated Maitreya Buddha as your teacher, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you have written hundreds of articles on the cultivation and practice of seeking the Tao, or authored several profound books addressing major questions about the universe, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you have delivered lectures on the Dharma or other main paths to thousands of people in many places, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you have established a spiritual website, providing users with a vast amount of essential classics and insightful writings from today's masters on cultivation and practice, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you regularly meditate, chant mantras, burn incense, or make offerings, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you've built temples, churches, erected statues of deities and Buddhas, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you come to Life-Genuine daily, study the Chanyuan corpus and Siefeng corpus, and ask what you have achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. If you say you participate actively in the Life-Genuine community, diligently follow the guide's instructions, and ask what you've achieved, I'd say, you've achieved nothing. Hearing this, you may feel upset, uncomfortable, or unconvinced, thinking my response is too harsh. Let's examine some principles. If Zhang San completed his studies up to postdoctoral level, what did he gain? Nothing. If Li Si worked tirelessly on the land, turning the soil over and over again, what did he achieve? Nothing. If Wang Wu practiced, sat in meditation, cultivated, chanted, meditated, prayed, wrote, and lectured every day, but found no change in himself, where is his achievement? Nowhere. If Zhao Lu studied architectural design, made money to buy building materials but never built a house, what did he accomplish? Nothing. If Qian Qi preached forgiveness, aspired to perfect himself in his environment, but quarreled with everyone he met, what did he achieve? Nothing. If Sun Ba was a lawyer, wrote thousands of legal or defense documents, went to court hundreds of times, but never won a case or secured any benefits for his clients, did he accomplish anything? No. The purpose of cultivation is results, not the process. Regardless of how thrilling, tough, beautiful, or long the journey is, if there is no outcome, the entire process is a futile effort, as worthless as lighting a candle in daylight. If you are a vegetable farmer and you work hard all year but fail to grow vegetables for people to enjoy, you have achieved nothing. Buying top-quality seeds, the most effective fertilizers, plowing the land many times and constantly watering. If they don't yield crops, what have you accomplished? If I am a customer wanting to buy vegetables but you have none to sell, think about it. Can I buy the process of planting vegetables? I want the vegetables, not the process of planting them. Of course, without the process there can be no result, but the process is only valuable when it serves the result. If there is no result, however diligent or elaborate the process, it's but a fleeting illusion devoid of value. The ultimate aim of cultivation is to reach the celestial kingdom. If we fail to meet the standards and requirements for entering the kingdom, if we cannot enter it, then what is the point of our cultivation? It has no point. If I were sent by the celestial kingdom to welcome cultivators to paradise, my only standard would be the perfection of your soul's non-material structure, not your knowledge, wisdom, status, power, material wealth, or process of cultivation. With that perspective in mind, we can now address the main question: how can we measure our progress in cultivation? If you find that you no longer have nightmares and mostly dream in color, do not feel attached to family life, enjoy playing and entertainment, love communal living, are free from moral restrictions around sexuality, are without worries and can maintain happiness, optimism, and joy in any situation, feel only love in your heart, free from jealousy or hatred, are grateful in all things, then you have achieved the results needed to enter the 1,000-year world. In other words, you are certain to reach the 1,000-year world. If you find that you can fly in your dreams, experience only pleasant dreams, always feel joyful and excited, do not wish to possess anything, are entirely free of negative emotions, are filled with immense love for nature, have a sense of a wonderfully bright future, feel only love in your heart, completely devoid of envy and hatred, then you have achieved the results needed to enter the 10,000-year world. In other words, you are certain to reach the 10,000-year world. If you find that you have supernatural abilities in your dreams, are free from a sense of self, have no fear of death, have only beautiful visions and thoughts in your mind, can communicate with trees, flowers, insects, birds, and animals, can spiritually connect with the Creator, wish to create a paradise for humanity, frequently experience realms of ultimate bliss, then you have achieved the results needed to enter the Elysium world. In other words, you are certain to reach the Elysium world. These are the standards by which you can measure your cultivation progress. You can check yourself against them at any time. Followers of Jesus can examine whether these standards align with his teachings. Students of Buddhism and Taoism can check whether these standards are consistent with the wisdom of the Buddha and Laozi. Other spiritual practitioners, and those who have perceived the celestial kingdom, can use their wisdom and insights to determine whether these standards are reasonable. If you have questions, feel free to ask. 无相思维一 Formless Thinking Part 1. Jiefeng. April 11, 2008. The 8 levels of thinking are material thinking, image thinking, associative thinking, illusory thinking, visualized thinking, Tai Chi thinking, formless thinking, and holographic thinking. These levels progress in depth and complexity. Ordinary people typically engage in material thinking, artists and writers employ image thinking, scientists use associative thinking, most religious followers operate within illusory thinking, practitioners of mystical arts such as wizards engage in visualized thinking, Sages engage in Tai Chi thinking, bodhisattvas and Buddhas practice formless thinking, while gods and the greatest creator employ holographic thinking. A person's life level is determined by their way of thinking. In other words, the type of thinking one possesses corresponds to the life level one attains. I have already explained the first 6 types of thinking, so I won't repeat them here. Now let's delve into formless thinking. Formless thinking, as the name implies, involves understanding and contemplating the origin of the universe, the principles underlying all phenomena, and the essence of life itself, without relying on appearances or forms. Here, form refers to all visible objects and structured movements. Anything that can be seen, heard, smelled, tasted, or touched is a form. The laws and principles discovered and defined by humans are also forms, known as characteristics of Dharma. Even concepts like emptiness and nothingness are forms, called characteristics of non-Dharma. Formless thinking is the thinking of bodhisattvas and Buddhas. It moves beyond color, sound, smell, taste, touch, Dharma and non-Dharma concepts, directly approaching the universe's origin and the true nature of things. This thinking sees the essence through the appearance, transcending the material world to understand the realm of non-material and the non-material world. It observes the Tathagata, the thus come one, directly, using the Buddha eye to view the world. The Tao that can be spoken of is not the eternal way. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The law that can be spoken of is not the eternal law. The form that can be seen is not the eternal form. When time and space transform, everything else changes accordingly. In one time and space, a principle may be universally true, but in another, it may no longer apply. What is true today may become false tomorrow. The lover bound by promises today may become an enemy tomorrow. The fragrant meal today may sour and spoil by tomorrow. Thus, all things are impermanent. If one clings to any particular form, fixing it rigidly in their consciousness without adaptation, they will experience endless suffering and confusion. Are all things truly impermanent? No. In all changes, the fundamental remains constant. But where is this fundamental? How can it be found? By observing the myriad forms, one will not find the fundamental. Only in formlessness, by clearing all forms from one's consciousness, can one find the fundamental, recognize the Tathagata, achieve Buddhahood, and escape the sea of suffering to reach the world of ultimate bliss. To guide people toward formless thinking, Buddha Shakyamuni provided the following teachings. If a bodhisattva retains concepts of self, person, sentient beings, or lifespan, they are not a bodhisattva. A bodhisattva should practice giving without attachment to forms, not clinging to color, sound, smell, taste, touch, or law. Bodhisattvas should give without attachment to forms. All forms are illusory. If one sees that all forms are non-forms, they see the Tathagata. If the mind clings to forms, it clings to the concepts of self, others, sentient beings, and lifespan. If one clings to the characteristics of Dharma, they cling to the concepts of self, others, sentient beings, and lifespan. If one clings to the characteristics of non-Dharma, they cling to the concepts of self, others, sentient beings, and lifespan. One should cultivate a tranquil mind like this, not generating thoughts based on form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or Dharma. The mind should arise unattached. To be free from all forms is to be called a Buddha. If one sees me through form or seeks me through sound, they follow a deviant path and cannot see the Tathagata. Those who have resolved to attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi should understand, perceive, believe, and understand all dharmas in this way, without generating the characteristics of Dharma. How does one explain this to others? By remaining unattached to form, thus unmoved. Buddha Shakyamuni has clearly shown us that only through formlessness can one see the Tathagata and become a bodhisattva or Buddha. So, how can we practice formless thinking? What can we perceive once we have achieved formlessness? How can we reach the wondrous state of formless thinking? In the next part, Transformation of Time and Space, Formless Thinking Part 2, we will explore these questions. 时空变换无相思维2 Time and Space Transformation Formless Thinking Part 2. Jiefeng, April 12, 2008. A philosopher once said, "You cannot step into the same river twice." How true this is. On this day last year at this very gate, human faces reflected the red of peach blossoms. Where have those faces gone? The peach blossoms still smile in the east wind. Young when I left home and old when I returned, my accent was unchanged, but my hair has grayed. The children see me and don't recognize me. Laughing, they ask, "Where has this guest come from?" As stars shift and constellations change, so do people and things. As winds and clouds fluctuate, the days become ever newer. Broken walls where foxes sleep and deserted platforms where hares tread. All were once places of song and dance, yellow flowers chilled by the dew and withered grasses shrouded in mist. All were battlefields of old. Is there constancy in rise and fall? Where now lies strength and weakness? Once inseparable, what about today? Russia remains, but where has the Soviet Union gone? Yesterday, I played and laughed under the knees of my elders. Will they be well in their old age tomorrow? Tall buildings rise, but is the brook flowing beneath the little bridge in front of my house still clear and murmuring? Yesterday there was a bustling crowd at the house. Today it stands cold and empty, a lone crow on a bare branch. In the place of eternal vows, even simple tea and plain rice taste like the finest delicacies. When friendships turn cold, the sun and moon lose their light, and the sky darkens. When will the spring flowers and autumn moons end? How much do I remember of the past? The little building last night again faced the east wind, and I cannot bear to look back at my homeland under the bright moon. The carved railings and jade steps should still be there, yet the youthful faces have changed. How much sorrow can you have? It flows like a river of spring water heading east. The affairs of the world are impermanent. Circumstances change with time. The heavens and earth shift and seas turn into fields. After 3 days without seeing someone, look at them with new eyes. Each moment is different from the last, always replacing the old charms with new ones. As I look back, tears often flow. In seeking dreams, my heart is always saddened. Time and space constantly shift. Flowers bloom and fall, hard to hold on to. Clouds roll and stretch, hard to shape. A sudden shower scatters the petals, high and low the red flowers fall. Countless elm seeds flutter in vain, unable to buy the spring breeze. The weather varies widely and waves stretch vast. The heavens have unpredictable winds and clouds. People have unexpected fortunes and misfortunes. 64 cosmic factors create countless, unpredictable transformations beyond human comprehension. Unfortunately, joy and sorrow, parting and reunion are always heartless. I watch the raindrops fall before the steps, dripping until daybreak. A day in heaven equals a year on earth. Such is the nature of time and space. As time and space change, so must our thoughts and consciousness. Whether it's classic texts or customs, religious doctrines or the words of wise figures, we must assess their value based on their effectiveness in the present. Clinging to tradition, rigidly holding on to old rules, and always applying the teachings of the ancients to today's actions leads only to hardship and endless suffering. Marital love, celebrated in the human world, holds no place in heaven. The 3-inch golden lotus-bound feet, praised in ancient times, has now become a symbol of foolishness and suffering. The spirits of Jingwei filling the sea, Quafu chasing the sun, Yugong moving mountains, and Nuwa mending the sky are commendable in spirit, yet their methods are flawed. The Bible, Quran, Diamond Sutra, and Tao Te Ching struggle to explain life in a way that guides reality, let alone other teachings. What should we do? The only solution is formless thinking. Otherwise, we will be dragged down by the past and confused by appearances. As time flies and days slip by like arrows, we must transcend the complex and ever-changing phenomena of the material world to seek the true source of all things. Only then will the sacred mountain feel close at hand. Only through formless thinking can we free ourselves from the entanglement of suffering and reach the ideal shore. Time can only make one grow old, but won't trust sentimental feelings. Long hating the parting at the pavilion, tears fall on spring clothes, easily sobering from wine. Last night the west wind rushed through the parasol trees. Under the faint moonlight, dreams were often disturbed. From where does a single cry of a goose on a high building come? Everyone knows that salvation should be won, but with ambition won't have done. Where are the famous ones of days gone by? In grassy graves they lie now, everyone. Everyone knows that salvation should be won, but with their gold and silver they won't have done. Every day they grumble they haven't enough. When they've enough, it's only then they've gone. Everyone knows that salvation should be one, but with their wives and children they won't have done. The darlings every day protest their love, but once you're dead they're off with another one. Everyone knows that salvation should be one, but with their sons and grandsons they won't have done. From old till now the unfilial young have paid their fond, blind fathers with a frown. For insights on achieving formless thinking, stay tuned for the next article. 1 + 1 is equal to 0, Formless Thinking, Part 3. 1 + 1 is equal to 0 Wushang Thui Thun. 1 + 1 is equal to 0 Formless Thinking 3. Xiefeng. April 13, 2008. The embrace of particle and antiparticle results in instantaneous annihilation, becoming zero. The total energy of the universe is also zero. The hub of 24 parallel worlds is zero. Among the 36 dimensions of space, there is a realm called the Zero World. This realm is zero, and the greatest creator is zero. In my Advanced Cultivation, I introduced a method called returning to zero. To truly return to zero, one must engage in formless thinking. The universe has a balancing mechanism which originates from zero. This balancing mechanism sets the limits for all things to develop. Within these limits, phenomena manifest positively. Beyond them, they turn negative. It is like a pendulum that swings around zero as its center. Once it strays from zero, the pendulum immediately disappears. The numbers of males and females in humanity are also centered around zero. The sum of both genders always equals zero. Once this balance is surpassed, events inevitably occur to restore equilibrium. The number line always expands outward from zero in every direction. From a microscopic perspective, everything appears complex and unpredictable. However, with some analysis, we discover that no matter how many phenomena exist, they can all be categorized into the balanced dualities of yin and yang. Each phenomenon is either one or the other. This realization elevates our understanding to the principle of Taiji. Everything is not as complicated as it seems. The dazzling variety of phenomena is simply the Taiji principle in full expression. Yet, how did the Taiji principle originate? Why can the two extremes not expand infinitely? For instance, why can't either gender in the male-female dynamic infinitely reproduce, creating only boys or only girls? Because there is a zero that restricts them. It is the cyclical movement around zero that creates organic, harmonious, and symmetrical balance, giving rise to beauty, a sense of movement, and a world full of life. Therefore, from a macroscopic perspective, everything is zero, which Buddhism calls emptiness. Understanding this brings immense enjoyment to life, making every moment a paradise. Without this understanding, life becomes passive, pessimistic, and an endless sea of suffering. Why do I urge everyone to go with the flow, adapt to circumstances, act according to nature, and respond spontaneously? It is because of the Taiji dance of zero. When an actor performs outside the director's intentions, both experience suffering. To act according to the law of nature is to enter the Tao. Understanding this principle and following its laws is to achieve Tao. Knowing that 1 + 1 is equal to 0 allows us to enter the formless realm. Have you ever seen a kaleidoscope? The ever-changing patterns of flowers and shapes are simply variations of 0, 1, and -1. By firmly grasping 0, 1, and -1, one can transcend the dizzying phenomena and get straight to the essence. What's even more fascinating is that anyone can rise from being an actor to becoming a director. Actors are passive, but directors are active. Actors dwell in the realm of necessity, whereas directors live in the realm of freedom. I guide everyone to the Celestial Islands continent to help you enter the realm of freedom, to become directors, and to create a magnificent world of 0, 1, and -1. Entering the realm of formless thinking brings us to the world of zero, the emptiness of Buddhism. What is this world like? It is blissful beyond description, truly wondrous. Laozi had already glimpsed its mystery, saying, "The formless form, the image of no object, is elusive. Elusive and hazy, therein lies the image. Hazy and elusive, therein lies the object. Deep and dark, therein lies the essence, which is most genuine. Within it lies truth." Hence, Buddhism concludes, form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. In the spirit of this article, zero is everything and everything is zero. Yet, simply understanding that zero is everything and everything is zero has no practical value. Its true value lies in application, not merely comprehension. Does knowing the principles of riding a bicycle centered on balance provide any real benefit if one doesn't ride? No. Does understanding that food is energy bring real value if one doesn't eat? No. So, how do we apply the insight that zero is everything and everything is zero? Christ Jesus tells us that by giving up oneself, one gains oneself. By seeking oneself, one loses oneself. This is what Buddha Shakyamuni continuously emphasized. No self. Do you wish to become a bodhisattva? To attain Buddhahood? First, let go of yourself and embrace no self. Do not let your heart be attached to forms, sounds, smells, tastes, touch, or dharma. Your heart should arise without attachment. The sage holds onto the one as a model for the world, while celestial beings hold onto zero as a model for the world. Not seeing oneself, one gains clarity. Not asserting oneself, one shines. Not boasting, one has merit. Not being self-important, one endures. Only by being unselfish can one truly become oneself. How can we integrate these principles into our daily lives? Please refer to the wonderful use of zero, formless thinking for 零的妙用无相思维4. The Marvel of Zero Formless Thinking Part 4. Jiefeng. July 28, 2008. Zero is like the sun, radiating boundlessly. Zero is a flower vivid and fragrant. Zero is a clear spring, pure and refreshing. Zero is the Elysium world, filled with boundless joy. Everything begins from zero. Everything finds peace in zero. The myriad forms give rise to spirit. This is the origin of zero. The spirit transcends all forms. This is the dance of zero. Without zero, nothing exists. By returning to zero, one gains everything. The infinitely compassionate Buddha, Shakyamuni, teaches us to live without attachments. Without attachment to self, others, beings, or lifespan. Without attachment to dharma or even to non-dharma. Do not let your mind linger on what is seen, what is heard, what is smelled, or what is touched. Do not let your mind be bound by laws, principles, doctrines, concepts, customs, habits, or rules. Simply put, let the mind be unbound. What does it mean for the mind to be unbound? It means allowing the mind not to linger on anything perceived through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, or mind. Further, it means not lingering on material things, nations, political parties, religions, family, companies, groups, relatives, friends, lovers, enemies, good people, bad people, positive events, negative events, the past, the future, joy, resentment, wealth, fame, status, favorable situations, adversity, success, failure, happiness, suffering, morality, precepts, natural laws, principles, and so on. Formless thinking means letting everything return to zero. The initial feeling of returning to zero is a knowing smile. The intermediate feeling is indescribable wonder. And the advanced experience is entering the Elysium world. If we do not have these sensations, it shows we have not truly returned to zero. The Buddha said, "To be free of all forms is to attain Buddhahood." Simply put, when we become formless and return to zero, we become Buddhas. The theory of becoming a Buddha is this simple, but the path to Buddhahood is exceedingly difficult. Formless thinking is returning to zero. How can we marvelously utilize zero? Let me offer 3 paths to experience the wonderful realm of returning to zero. 1. Go to a vast desert, stand amidst it, gaze forward, and if you can free your mind from attachments, quiet your breath and focus your spirit, you may suddenly feel a sense of emptiness, temporarily forgetting or completely ignoring your own existence. You blend into the desert and suddenly, the self dissolves and the mind opens up, giving rise to a wonderful sensation. At this moment, you have entered the Buddha's realm. You may also experience this by going to towering mountains, expansive grasslands, or visiting the grand waterfalls at the Canada-US border or the Zimbabwe-Zambia border, standing by the sea, watching the sunrise or the sea of clouds from the peaks of great mountains, or sitting by a surging river. If you can clear your mind and quiet your breath, at a certain instant, you may completely ignore your own existence, experiencing a sublime, blissful feeling that transports you to the Buddha's land. 2. During the experience of sexual climax, one might momentarily disregard the existence of the other person and forget oneself entirely, sensing only that everything is so wonderful. I feel as if I am in paradise. It feels like an awakening, the beginning of life. An indescribable, almost unbearable ecstasy. A surge of intense fire, consuming everything wonderful beyond words. It's like leaving my body, leaving my mind, without concern for what usually seems so important. In this perfect ethereal realm, everything feels exhilarating, lifting the soul, pure, fresh, peaceful, beautiful. One may weep with joy, exclaiming, "God, I love you." This is the Buddha land. 3. Practices such as meditation, contemplation, yoga, and Lifechanuan's transcendence from the physical body meditation method can also lead us to a formless state. Especially when entering the 4th or 5th stage of meditation, one achieves a return to zero, a state of entering the Elysium world. The mysteries of this will be further explained during the practice of Lifechanuan meditation. The above are ways anyone can experience the bliss of formlessness, allowing us to understand what the Elysium world is and what it is like to become a Buddha. However, these experiences are fleeting. They are but brief flashes of our Buddha light. How can we experience and feel such wonder continuously, eternally? The optimal approach is formless thinking. The above paths to bliss happen because unknowingly we enter a formless thinking state. If our minds remain attached to something at that moment, we cannot experience bliss. The question now is, for those of us living in this world with endless troubles, how can we free ourselves from them and enter the state of formless zero? The wondrous use of zero. Make yourself zero. Step aside, imagine that you do not exist. Everything has nothing to do with me. I do not exist. Yet the earth continues to spin, mountains endure, rivers flow. Everything moves within the Tao, each thing governed by its own rules or natural order. Every person follows their unique life path and fate. Why should I worry? Why should I be anxious? All things are fleeting illusions, like fireworks or passing clouds. Life, death, and existence unfold naturally. Go with the flow, transform with fate. If it's interesting, I'll join in. If not, I return to zero. Whether the heavens collapse and the earth shatters, whether the ground quakes or mountains sway, whether people are parted by life or death, or the moon waxes and wanes, whether there's theft, deceit, murder, or arson, whether businesses fail or organizations collapse, whether trade stagnates or the economy declines, whether someone hangs themselves, jumps into a river, or crashes into a wall, whether love fades or an affair begins, whether the lights flash, the wine flows, and people revel or lose themselves in indulgence, whether someone is demoted, imprisoned, or utterly defeated, whether disputes arise, grievances deepen, truth is distorted, or morality is questioned. None of this concerns me. The wondrous use of zero. Leave humanity and enter the celestial realm ahead of time. The rise and fall of the world is none of my concern. The fate of nations, religions, parties, families, why should I care? Flowers may wither, let them wither. Rain may fall, let it fall. Winds may blow, let them blow. Divorce may come, let it come. Not wanting to live? Well, that's a choice. The wondrous use of zero. Make yourself shapeless. Let clouds gather and disperse, flowers bloom and fade, seas ebb and flow. Watch the play of humanity as if watching a movie. Step outside the 3 realms, beyond the 5 elements. Others may fight, I don't fight. Others may seize, I don't seize. Others may covet, I don't covet. If it's amusing, I appear. If it's troubling, I disappear. The wondrous use of zero. The greatest creator is zero. I return to zero. I am one with the greatest creator. The greatest creator is eternal, and I am eternal. The greatest creator owns everything, and I have everything. I give everything to the greatest creator. Success, failure, gain, and loss. Let it not burden my heart. Birth, death, and separation come as they will. I am empty yet possess everything. I do nothing but accomplish everything. Lacking in form but adapting to all forms. Shapeless but filling all spaces. Insults come, ridicule comes, scorn comes, slander comes, attacks come, suffering comes, right and wrong come, poverty comes, sorrow comes, trouble comes, death comes, I return to zero. Joy comes, freedom comes, happiness comes, beauty comes, I emerge from zero. Birds fly high in the sky. Fish leap freely in the vast sea. The realm is of my own making, moving freely in harmony. Summary of formless thinking. Formlessness is a realm of bliss and wonder. To become a celestial or a Buddha, to enter the Elysium world, one must first achieve formlessness. To achieve formlessness, one must adopt formless thinking, and the best path to formless thinking is the formless vessel crafted by the Buddha, Shakyamuni, the Diamond Sutra. From time to time, by allowing ourselves to return to zero, we can transcend the world and escape worldly entanglements to experience the wondrous formless state. Everything begins from zero. If we do not enter a state of zero, we cannot begin life in the heavenly realm and will remain forever in the cycle of lower-level life spaces. I have explained the first 7 steps of the 8-step thinking ladder. As a guide, I have led everyone to the edge of the heavenly realm. The Buddha holds a flower, and Mahakasyapa smiles. The final step, holographic thinking, must be grasped through your own meditation and insight. Holographic thinking is the hidden mystery of creation. Every detail is divine power. Jesus spoke in parables, never revealing the divine secrets. Buddha Shakyamuni did not write down his teachings and left mysteries unsaid. Laozi hovered on the edges, refusing to break through. As Deiform Buddha, I too can only lead to this point, for revealing these secrets would disrupt the balance of yin and yang in the cosmos, and those who disclose divine secrets are the universe's greatest sinners and face utter destruction. The sages have said, "The saw cuts through wood and water wears down stone. The seeker of the Tao must apply effort. When the fruit ripens, it falls. When the water fills, it flows. The Tao reveals itself to those who embrace the divine order of nature." 用意识转换因果, using consciousness to transform cause and effect. Jiefeng, June 12, 2008. A woman in her late 20s, holding her 1-year-old daughter, jumped from a building to her death. The reason? She returned home to find her husband in bed with another woman. Was this suicide? No, it was homicide. Who killed her? Not her husband nor the other woman, it was traditional thinking that killed her. To avoid this outcome, the best way is to transform one's consciousness. If this woman had thought, "My husband has had an affair, it's not a big deal. At worst, I'll divorce him and find someone better." Or perhaps, "Fine. You broke the rules, so can I. I'll let you off and you'll let me off, it's only fair." The result could have been different. Without transforming consciousness, cause and effect inevitably occur. By changing consciousness, however, cause and effect can be altered. Moving from the realm of inevitability into the realm of freedom requires a transformation of consciousness and a breakthrough from the confines of traditional thinking. People on Earth live under the influence of the thought patterns passed down by their predecessors. If one cannot escape these constraints, one can never attain enlightenment or Buddhahood. Take, for example, the saying, "Of all unfilial acts, having no descendants is the greatest." This thought pattern has bound people for thousands of years, pressuring parents to coerce their children into marriage and parenthood, creating the belief that being childless is the gravest unfilial act. People struggle within this entanglement, unable to break free. It burdens those without children with heavy mental and emotional stress, along with societal pressure and discrimination. Without breaking free from this way of thinking, the cycle of marriage, family, and childbearing inevitably continues. However, one could think instead, the Buddha said the human world is a sea of suffering. By having children, I would only bring them into this sea of suffering. That would not be a blessing for them. Instead, I will cultivate myself first, reach the 1,000-year world, and have children there in the heavenly kingdom, where they will truly be blessed. Thinking this way breaks the chains of all unfilial acts. Having no descendants is the greatest, allowing one to live a life free of guilt and in peace. Another example is the saying, "Of all evil deeds, sexual indulgence is the worst." This is another powerful mental construct. Originally, sexual indulgence meant excess, but it has been narrowly redefined to mean sexual behavior outside of marriage, labeling it as a sin and even the worst of sins. As a result, one of life's most beautiful experiences is erased, forcing people into secrecy. If they do indulge, they carry the burden of self-repression and torment, resulting in countless human tragedies. But what if we thought, romantic love is a precious gift from the greatest creator. Enjoying it aligns with the creator's will, and is in harmony with natural law. Appreciating the beauty of sexuality is a way of showing respect and gratitude to the creator. Life is fleeting. Flowers wither and youth fades. As long as it brings joy without disturbing others or society, Why should we repress or torment ourselves? Thinking this way breaks the restriction of sexual indulgence as the worst of sins, expands life's possibilities, increases freedom, and transforms cause and effect. The key to transforming cause and effect lies in consciousness, not in language or actions, because language and actions are controlled and directed by consciousness. If consciousness does not change, the trajectory of life remains unaltered. Fate remains fixed, and cause and effect inevitably occur. Happiness or suffering will manifest as predestined. However, if consciousness changes, the trajectory shifts, fate alters, and the outcomes, effects, that were expected will not materialize. For instance, if our consciousness is set on going to New York, we will inevitably find ourselves on the path to New York, and sooner or later we will arrive there. But if, along the way, we change our consciousness and decide to go to London instead, all aspects of the journey to New York are instantly altered, and the outcome of arriving in New York will no longer occur. Whether one moves toward hell or heaven depends entirely on their consciousness. Trajectories can be altered in an instant, and so can fate. Transforming one's fixed consciousness changes everything instantly. As the saying goes, heaven and hell are only a thought apart. The greatest challenge is how to change one's consciousness, where to direct it, and how to transform it. Questions that lead into broader and more complex considerations. The Advancde value states, walk in the way of the greatest creator. The purpose of life is to pursue joy, happiness, freedom, and fulfillment. The purpose of life is to strive for the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, or the celestial islands continent of the Elysium world. This is a form of consciousness. Once this consciousness is established, our views on life, the world, and existence transform, and our previous life trajectory is completely altered. By pursuing the sun, we escape the darkness, breaking through many traditional patterns of thought. The sufferings that might have arisen are no longer brought to fruition. The essence of transforming consciousness lies in transforming thinking. Without changing thinking, consciousness cannot become clear and orderly. If consciousness is chaotic and unclear, life will inevitably be confused and directionless. Thinking progresses through 8 levels, from material thinking, imaginal thinking, associative thinking, illusory thinking, visualized thinking, to Tai Chi thinking, formless thinking, and holographic thinking. Each level is more powerful than the last, with each possessing greater transformative potential. When one attains formless thinking, they achieve enlightenment, escape the constraints of human thought, and enter a more liberated and expansive state of existence. This raises a question. Can the cause and effect of actions such as corruption or eating meat be transformed by a shift in consciousness? The core of formless thinking lies in the absence of self-form and the absence of all forms. Even the forms of dharma and non-dharma do not exist. Thus, so-called forms such as corruption or eating meat fundamentally do not exist. Since they do not exist, there is no cause and effect. The root of cause and effect is consciousness. When the cause within consciousness disappears, the effect cannot arise, effectively cutting off the source. It is akin to switching off the main power supply. Once disconnected, all appliances lose their function instantly. I cannot elaborate further, as it would reveal too much. The rest must be realized through personal insight. 现在我们必须是超人. Now we must be superhuman. Deiform Buddha. November 18, 2008. The Chanyuan Celestials, armed with Advancde values, are no longer ordinary people. They are superhumans. Our ultimate big boss is the greatest creator. With the greatest creator as our foundation and guided by Jesus Christ, Buddha Shakyamuni, Sage Laozi, and Prophet Muhammad, we represent the most civilized, exceptional, rational, and wise beings on earth. In the future, humanity will be led and managed by the Chanyuan Celestials. Can we rely on the United Nations? Or on nations like the United States, China, Japan, Germany, or the United Kingdom? Can religions such as Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, or Hinduism guide us? What about political parties or spiritual leaders? None of these can truly lead humanity forward. Only Advancde and the Chanyuan Celestials are capable of taking on this responsibility. Therefore, every celestial must become a superhuman, capable of leading as a president in their own right. To usher in the Advancde era, a world where the worthy are not overlooked. The world is one family. No one picks up what isn't theirs on the road, and doors are left unlocked at night, where harmony prevails and everyone lives joyfully, freely, and happily. We must step up as leaders. All powers must yield to Life Chanyuan, and all people must live according to the guidance of the Chanyuan Celestials. What people understand, we will implement. What they do not understand, we will enforce. There is no room for negotiation. Humanity has endured millennia of suffering. This cannot continue. From the hands of the Chanyuan Celestials, a new world, a new era, a new way of life, and a new mode of living must emerge. The relationship between Life Chanyuan as a whole and each individual celestial is akin to that of a transformer. Together, the celestials form a colossal entity. Separately, they are self-sufficient, functional units. Every celestial must now become a Xiefeng. Within Life Chanyuan, Xiefeng continues to guide the celestials. Outside Life Chanyuan, each celestial serves as a guide to the world. The current 500 celestials effectively embody 500 Xiefengs. We have organized 800 Chanyuan values from the Chanyuan corpus. These values not only define the worldview, values, and outlook on life and life of the celestials, but must also serve as the guiding framework for all of humanity. We will spread these ideas globally. According to the three elements of consciousness, structure, and energy, Life Chanyuan's values represent the consciousness. From this consciousness, we must create a corresponding structure. Without structure, energy cannot be anchored. As outlined in the Life Chanyuan overview, this structure includes a general director as the world president and 256 branch director as regional governors. Its operational program follows the design by the Yang Saint. Currently, Deiform Buddha oversees consciousness, Foshan Buddha handles overall leadership, Qingkuan Buddha designs the program, and Taiji Buddha oversees its operation, with each celestial finding their appropriate position within this framework. Good intentions alone are insufficient. Effective measures and methods are essential. History has shown us this. Buddhism and Christianity had good intentions, but without proper measures and methods, their impact was limited. Similarly, achieving the Life Chanyuan era through force is impossible, as evidenced by the downfall of the Third Reich in Germany and Japan. Violent class struggles have also proven ineffective, as the failure of global communist movements illustrates. Authoritarian rule through religious governance is not the answer either, as shown by the current state of the Islamic world. Even democratic debate and voting fail to produce effective results, as demonstrated by the conditions of the United Nations and the United States. What we need is unified will combined with individual joy and freedom, an approach aligned with Life Chanyuan's values. Faced with a fragmented humanity, how can we bring about unity of will? First, we must recognize that the era of humanity's future is undoubtedly the Life Chanyuan era. This transformation is an inevitable, objective process, not subject to individual will. No person, organization, or nation can halt this trend. Our role as celestials is to facilitate this transformation. We do not rely on weapons, battles, or sacrifice. We implement change as if playing a household game, quietly and effortlessly, sitting, standing, lying down, or simply thinking. We eliminate potential threats from afar and address hidden dangers imperceptibly. Let me illustrate this with a recent example, verified by Songhai Buddha. Some time ago, Xiaoxi was slandering Life Chanyuan and me, Xiefeng, on Bushuan. I told Songhai Buddha, "This individual is too brazen. Let's give him 3 days of angina as a reminder." Soon after, Xiaoxi disappeared from Bushuan. To confirm the miracle, I wrote an article titled "Without Xiaoxi's Arrogance, I'm Feeling Lonely," and posted a follow-up comment in our community asking if Xiaoxi's heart pain had subsided. A few days later, it was confirmed that Xiaoxi had indeed suffered heart issues. This is the power of thinking. I can cause blindness, deafness, bone fractures, illnesses, accidents, or even make individuals vanish. Those who oppose Life Chanyuan will be silenced, and if necessary, driven to madness. I hope all celestials will develop this ability. Cleaning up the trash shouldn't fall on my shoulders alone. Together, we can create a beautiful homeland. Good remains good even if it appears evil. Evil remains evil even if it appears good. As long as we uphold Life Chanyuan's values and act for the Life Chanyuan era, all we do is righteous and correct. When practicing this mental power, begin with weaker targets. For example, make mice relocate, compel someone to turn around unexpectedly, or cause someone to laugh or cry without reason. Gradually align the world around you with your will. As a rule, avoid harming life unless absolutely necessary. Remember, all forces, material or non-material, have counterforces. Do not let these counterforces backfire. The theme of this article is that we must now become superhuman. We must escape the sea of suffering ourselves and save others from it. If we do not become superhuman, we are like clay Buddhas crossing a river, unable to protect ourselves. How to become superhuman? Start with those around you. Gradually influence everyone you interact with to live according to your will. The values of life genuine. Confront obstacles by removing them mentally. Envision yourself piloting an airplane, crashing through barriers not physically but mentally. For kind, honest, simple, hardworking, and trustworthy individuals, offer them the greatest possible freedom and happiness. For the wicked, enforce the greatest possible constraints. Treat the righteous with righteous methods, and the wicked with strict methods. Never treat the righteous with strict methods, and never treat the wicked with righteous methods. When dealing with loved ones, use gentle persuasion to keep them happy every day, and exercise the greatest patience in waiting for their transformation. Avoid arguments and confrontation. Instead, take on more household chores, fulfill your responsibilities, and do your utmost to free yourself from any lingering concerns or attachments. Repay any debts as soon as possible, so your heart will be free of guilt. In this way, when the opportunity arises, we can depart for the celestial islands continent at any time. Remember, life is merely a brief journey of life through the human world, like playing a game. Incorporate everything into this game and play along. Congratulations to everyone for climbing over another great mountain. Submitting your homework was one such mountain. For those who have crossed it, let us continue our playful and joyful banter as we travel together toward the unfamiliar and distant lands. As for those who have not, let them stay on the other side of the mountain. Their ancestors, generation after generation, remained there their entire lives. Let them follow in their ancestors' footsteps. But as for us, we shall no longer be trapped in the cycle of reincarnation. 新的视角，禅院草是超人. New perspective. Chanyuan celestials are superhumans. Deform Buddha. November 19, 2008. First, I approach this topic with holographic-based thinking. When you encounter something you don't understand, resist the urge to dismiss it outright. It's similar to when I first claimed that romantic love is a precious gift from the greatest creator that humans should fully enjoy. Many couldn't comprehend this idea at the time. Superhuman philosophy originates from the German philosopher Nietzsche. Because Nietzsche declared, God is dead, and eventually died of schizophrenia, his philosophy of the Übermensch was almost entirely rejected. However, I want to bring Nietzsche back into focus, offer a fresh perspective on his philosophy, and encourage every Chanyuan celestial to become a superhuman. The core of Nietzsche's Übermensch philosophy is to reevaluate all traditional moral and cultural values, and to build a new value system based on a fresh worldview, outlook on life, and concept of values. The superhuman embodies a new morality distinct from traditional and popular norms. A superhuman is someone who exemplifies the will to live, possesses immense creativity, and is a strong figure in life. They transcend themselves and the weak, fully expressing their individuality and governing the mediocre. The superhuman becomes the benchmark for truth and morality, the creator of norms and values. Superhumans are free, self-sufficient, and confident, capable of shouldering any burden and facing hardships with courage and perseverance, never giving up until their goals are achieved. Superhumans face humanity's greatest pain and understand the greatest suffering and hope of humanity. They grow up in adverse environments, and suffering, pain, and trials can only make them stronger. They are not weak or petty but rich, great, and complete beings. Humanity does not need despotic tyrants or fascists, but it absolutely needs superhumans. Current reality. Take a look at our world today. The Chanyuan values bring joy, freedom, and happiness to individuals and offer hope for humanity as a whole. Yet, how many people have responded to this vision in the years we've shared it? How many are willing to contribute their talents and wisdom to the creation of the Chanyuan era? How many are truly committed to upholding and practicing these values? Only a handful, just a few dozen Chanyuan celestials. Most people are struggling in the sea of suffering, hoping others will be honest, selfless contributors, saints, while they themselves are neither honest nor interested in serving others or society. They simply seek to maximize their own interests: fame, status, wealth, beauty, power, freedom, and happiness. They either turn a blind eye to noble ideals or attack them outright. Reasoning with such ignorance proves futile, as evidenced by the millions of words we've spoken to no avail. Pure kindness and forgiveness toward the ignorant can harm them and degrade society. The only solution is for superhumans to lead. Take Zimbabwe as an example. With 80% unemployment, people are struggling to survive, let alone enjoy life. Is the problem solely with Mugabe's regime? No. It's an issue with the entire populace. Delve deeper, and you'll find 95% of the population are natural-born tricksters, thieves, looters, insatiable parasites who want something for nothing. Democracy will not work with such people, and reason is ineffective. Democracy and reason are ineffective for such groups. Even among the 50% identifying as Christians, their faith seems confined to church gatherings, as outside they act selfishly. Such people require superhuman leadership. Otherwise, suffering will persist indefinitely. Leading humanity. Instead of letting others lead us, we should lead them. Instead of being hurt or oppressed by ignorance, let us inspire fear, envy, and admiration in those who are primitive and uninformed. When Jesus Christ walked the earth, he should have used divine power and superhuman will to unite humanity, rather than relying solely on preaching. When Buddha Shakyamuni lived, he should have unified the world through spiritual power, not just compassion. When Laozi shared his wisdom, he shouldn't have solely advocated natural law and non-contention, but emphasized the principle of oneness. When Prophet Muhammad established his vision, he should have eradicated the institutions of family, political parties, religion, and nations, rather than merely conquering cities and territories. Marx, Lenin, and Mao Zedong preached the abolition of private property and the implementation of communism, yet they left the family, the most entrenched bastion of private property, intact. This failure led to the ultimate collapse of the communist movement. The nature of humanity. Most people fear strength and exploit weakness. They covet fame, wealth, beauty, and power, while masking their desires behind a facade of morality. When they fail to achieve something, they dismiss it as worthless. Such people are selfish and hypocritical. If you disguise yourself as a beggar and plead for food, you will see people's true faces. Even those who are pitiful themselves will look down on you with disdain. Yet, if you pose as a masked bandit wielding a blade, even the most prideful will drop to their knees, begging for mercy and offering their possessions. History offers stark examples. During the Second Sino-Japanese War, we have seen footage of just 2 or 3 Japanese soldiers subduing dozens of Chinese people. These Chinese individuals, who were adept at squabbling and scheming against their own brothers and sisters, turned into cowards when faced with a formidable enemy. Such people should not be treated as equals. They should be governed from a position of superiority. One must elevate oneself to the level of a superhuman to lead and command them. Building a strong inner circle. Even within Life Genuine, when some individuals slander, defame, or attack Life Genuine, particularly Xiefeng, a few of my brothers and sisters fail to muster even the slightest courage to speak up. They dare not make a sound or stand their ground. These are the same people who in ordinary times talk a great game, their words more impressive than a song, but when faced with real challenges, they become dispirited and spineless. I have nothing but disdain for those who lack integrity and backbone. Though Life Genuine is not a political or religious organization, we are bound as family, brothers, sisters, and lovers. If anyone among us is bullied, our first response should not be to analyze who is right or wrong but to collectively defend them. Only by fostering this unity can Life Genuine accumulate the energy and deterrence needed to guide humanity toward the Chanyuan era. Otherwise, we are no better than a pile of scattered sand. Look at the Muslim world, the Italian mafia, or Mao's China. Who dared challenge them? Life Genuine must surpass them all in excellence, discipline, and strength. Leadership beyond nations. Nations should not exist. The most civilized and wise should lead humanity and its regions. When I asked grassroots Zimbabweans whether life was better under white rule or their own governance, they unanimously said it was better under white leadership. This proves colonialism was correct. National independence and self-governance are regressions in human civilization. Even Hitler's core philosophy was sound. The world should be unified and managed by the most capable. His methods were secondary to this vision. Life-Changyuan members or Changyuan celestials are not bound to any existing nationality. We are a new kind of people, armed with the way of the greatest creator. A superior human race destined to lead the world, purify humanity, and restore Earth. We are a new breed of humanity. We are superhumans. When faced with challenges, we are fearless. Even in the face of death, we remain unshaken. Our expressions unchanging, our hearts steady, our eyes fixed, daring to confront whatever comes our way. Blow me up if you dare. If you can't, but you so much as lift a bomb against me, I'll make sure you're the one who gets blown up. Action over complaints. Many lament the injustice of the world. But what good does shouting about it do? For thousands of years, people have cried out, yet has the world become fairer? The oppressed are like blades of grass, endlessly harvested and regrown, just as corrupt officials rise one after another. Complaints and dissatisfaction achieve nothing. If you truly want to change the world, strap on an atomic bomb and blow it all up. Can't do that? Then either conform to the system or refuse to compromise and take real action. But stop indulging in empty talk. How do we change it? Chinkoan Buddha not only clarifies the root of the issue, but also puts forward a series of measures and methods. These involve creating a new operational framework for society based on the Life-Changyuan values. First, we must integrate ourselves into this structure, test it, and perfect it. This is one of the main purposes of building the second home. Reassessing Nietzsche. Now let's return to Nietzsche, who proposed the philosophy of the superhuman. I have endeavored to immerse myself in his thoughts and found that he has been widely misunderstood. At the age of 25, he was appointed as a professor of classical philology at the University of Basel, a role that highlighted his extraordinary talent and brilliance. This alone proves that his mind was not chaotic but exceptionally sharp. He confronted the collapse of traditional values in his era and sought to redefine the meaning of life. Today we recognize that many traditional human values, life perspectives, and worldviews are incorrect, inverted, and do not align with the way of the greatest creator. Over a century ago, Nietzsche loudly proclaimed the need to reevaluate all values. He was keenly aware of the flaws and shortcomings in traditional values and proposed their reassessment. His perspective stemmed from a vantage point far removed from the constraints of his time, similar to how I view humanity's current values from the coordinate system and perspective of the thousand-year world. Nietzsche's insights were ahead of their time. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, Superman, was his way of envisioning individuals who could transcend the flawed values, life perspectives, and worldviews of humanity to create something new. This idea was profoundly correct. Even Adolf Hitler was influenced by Nietzsche's Superman philosophy, using it as inspiration for his own actions. When Nietzsche declared, "God is dead," his words did not reflect a denial of God's existence. Instead, he sought to emphasize that humanity could not rely solely on God to resolve its problems. Nietzsche urged people to take initiative and harness their willpower to actively confront humanity's challenges. He grew frustrated with those who continued to pray and wait for divine intervention while doing nothing themselves. This frustration led him to the provocative statement, "God is dead," to shock humanity into action. Furthermore, Nietzsche was critical of Christianity and rejected the God depicted in the Bible, which also contributed to his statement. Why did Nietzsche ultimately succumb to mental illness and die? The primary cause was his long-term inability to gain understanding or acceptance of his ideas, coupled with the crushing loneliness this imposed on him. This isolation led to his psychological collapse. It was not due to contradictions in his philosophy or a lack of clarity in his thinking. However, it's possible that his fate might have been different had he not uttered the controversial phrase, "God is dead." That said, we cannot adopt all of Nietzsche's ideas wholesale, particularly his extreme measures. Instead, we focus on his notion of the Übermensch because humanity today urgently needs individuals with extraordinary